take away from the concept of suicide. I think suicide is I know for a fact it's a very serious issue because right now the rates of suicide are on the rise in the United States of America. And I don't think it's by mistake. I really don't. Right. And I think a lot of it has to do with an inherent lack of meaning and purpose that people are starting to realize exists in a society that tells us that all we need to do is have meaning and purpose, or rather all that we need to do to have meaning and purpose in our lives is, again, achieve these ideals that we've been brainwashed since we were fucking kids. And that once we do that, that suddenly all of our issues will disappear. But no, man, like this is not the case, right? So where the suicide will come back into place, it's informed by one of my favorite philosophers. His name is Albert Camus, right? And it's called The Myth of Sisyphus, the textbooks, the textbook itself, right? Which itself is essentially just a treatise on suicide. The whole book is about suicide, right? Albert Camus starts the book itself starts by talking about that the only real question that philosophy should be concerned with is whether or not we should kill ourselves or not. Now, I know this might sound facetious, but the reality is that's a very serious question. And it's a question that unfortunately is not a given to many people like myself. If you would have caught me like 10 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago, I would have been like, unfortunately, because back in the day, I used to fucking hate just suffering in general, right? Whether it be physical, but especially that emotional suffering that we all experience. Some of us do a really good job of hiding it. Others do a great job of drowning it out with alcohol and drugs like myself used to do, right? But suffering, like I was never good with it, right? And to learn, especially in such a poetic way as Albert Camus put it in The Myth of Sisyphus, that our suffering was essentially meaningless. It's meaningless in the sense that we live in a universe that is completely, it doesn't give a fuck about us being here. Like whether we're here or not is completely irrelevant to the universe, right? The universe is a non-agentive being, if you will, to use the language of the Nahuatl philosophy of Teotel, right? It's just non-agentive. It's neither good nor evil. The universe just is, okay? So the absurdity comes into play where we as humans are desperately seeking to find meaning and purpose in an inherently meaningless and purposeless universe, right? And he likens it to the myth of Sisyphus here being this character in Greek mythology, I believe, who was punished by the gods he was condemned by the gods, right? To roll this boulder up and down a hill, knowing full well that no matter how, it's a repetitive pattern of behavior, knowing that no matter what this individual did, they would never, Sisyphus, get the boulder to the top of the hill, right? That as soon as they got to the very close to the top of the hill, that the boulder would come crumbling right back down on him, and that he would have to in turn turn around and then roll the hill back up the other side of the roll the boulder right up the other side of the hill, only to have it repeat again and then continue this process for all of eternity, right? And this is fucking maddening, man. Sorry for the dead air, but I need a little coffee in my life. It's fucking maddening though, bro, especially when you start to realize you're Sisyphus. I'm Sisyphus. We're all Sisyphus. And we're all fucking rolling our own little boulders up and down these little mountains. And at the end of the day, being our lives, right? It may ultimately be meaningless and purposeless. And that the only meaning and value that it has is the meaning and value that either was given to it by external forces, or if we're fortunate enough in life, if we ourselves end up giving it a meaning and purpose, right?